I remembered absolutely loving the original movie by De Palma. I'm friends with De Palma, so, I have a lot of respect for him and what he did. And at first I wasn't sure, why you might or might not, remake this movie. So I got a hold of the book and read it cover to cover and was completely captivated.
Even though it's a pop, horror, psychological thriller of a novel, what it does is actually explores sort of how teenagers relate to their environments as they're going through their own personal experience of evolving from youth to adult, and that's as relevant anywhere. So what you actually find that's sort of amazing about this particular book in the Stephen King canon is it's really a coming-of-age story about a young girl.
It was such a beautifully written book, and it was this reality kind of put into a book, obviously very heightened and very, twisted, a little bit more twisted and a little bit more sci-fi.
It's so contemporary. It really transcends its time. King's amazing characterizations of Carrie, of the mother, of the girls, the timeliness of this girl who was bullied and how she responded to being bullied. And, immediately thought, wow, this is the kind of movie I would make because it has fantastic characters, it's protagonist-driven, great ensemble. And I also saw that there was a chance to really do things that, not because De Palma isn't brilliant, not because he's not great, but there was just a chance to do it differently.
What's interesting about Kim directing Carrie is she feels the experience of the lead character in a way that makes it more real, more unique, certainly tied to a personal experience, because Kim is very interested in the experience of the outsider. If she was looking with Chloe, and even with Margaret White a little bit, to look at two people who were somewhat misfits, comfortable perhaps in their own house, but when they stepped out into the world, they were people who were out of step a little bit with the world. And I think that Kim sort of constantly pushing that element of the story hopefully makes it something that is emotionally richer than just a sort of straight horror movie about a girl who happens to have telekinetic powers who's pushed too far.
I was a huge fan of Chloe's, and I know that she's extraordinarily talented. What was interesting when I met her and started to work with her, even after I hired her, is I said to her, how do we turn Chloe Moritz into Carrie White, who is poor, who lacks confidence, who is literally beaten by her mother?
No! No! No, Mommy! Come on, please!
Because you can't be a confident, precocious child. You have to actually move along the arc to becoming a wounded, scared young woman. And I said, so can we grow you up in the course of the movie? And, with respect and sensitivity towards women who are beaten, women who are poor, I had Chloe go to women's shelters. Because I said, you need to get to know people who actually have a hard life. And you need to start to feel the vibration that they feel so that you might bring that in and give authenticity to this character.
Let's get Carrie into the game. Can't stand on the sidelines all the time, come on.
The role of Carrie is a very emotional role, and I just really wanted to show the dynamic of Carrie because I am a 15-year-old girl, and I've been bullied, I've gone through a lot of different stuff, and a lot of people might think, oh, well, what was it like when I first got my period, or what was it like when I was bullied back when I was younger? It's like, no, I'm actually living it, and I remember it all, and I'm here in it while portraying her.
Literally at the same time that we were shooting our movie. She was going through these groups of girls being bitchy and bullying to her because she's famous and she's successful. So what she had to draw from was extraordinary.
It is probably the most vulnerable I've ever been as an actor, and I've never been able to show that level of my personal emotions on the screen before. It was really dynamic, and it took a lot of time and a lot of collaboration between Kim and I to get there.
Certainly there was the physical and the acting transformation that we had to go through. And I had said this to her, I said, something overtakes you. Well, literally something overtakes her. What Chloe has is this feral quality. So I would say to her, there's something reptilian in the performance. So she invented a Carrie that is really of another species, and that was wildly exciting. If you study that performance, you'll really see she transforms as the human monster. Not only is she the right age, and does she go through this amazing acting and personal transformation and grows up on screen into a full arc, but when you matched her with Julianne, what was extraordinary was Julianne is a mother. Julianne is incredibly protective of her children. So she actually mothered Chloe, and you saw Chloe transform once Julianne got there.
Let's go inside, little girl.
Chloe is so talented and incredibly hardworking and very present, and she really brings, you know, she brings a tremendous amount of herself and of her ability to the role.
Working with Julianne was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had as an actress. She brought another level to the character, and she really made both of our characters even more advanced.
Margaret's character is very definitively ruled by her belief system. I think she's in a tremendous amount of pain. She's experiencing a great deal of loss. She has rage, she doesn't know what to do with. I mean, you know, she's bordering on being a sociopath.
Mama, stop it.
Well, I think Carrie is at its heart and soul a mother-daughter relationship story. What I really fell in love with in the book, and I think even amplified, you know, in my telling of the story, is she loves her mother, and her mother loves her. And so what she's struggling with is, how can I hold on to my mother's love while growing up? And for her mother, it's what's going to happen when she goes out into the world.
What Julianne showed, because Julianne is a mother, is that Margaret is never trying to harm her daughter because she wants to abuse her. Margaret is trying to be the best parent, and she doesn't know how to be because she is so paranoid and so terrified of what might happen to her daughter. She wants to keep her in the house, keep her in the closet, keep her safe, keep her a child, and she has ultimately created her daughter to be this recluse. And it's not out of being abusive, it's not out of being hateful. They love each other.
For me, she's very much a person who feels like she's losing control of her child, that has a very strong belief that something's gone wrong and she's lost control of her.
Whiskey,
He's so crazy.
You tell that boy you're not going.
No.
We'll move from here. We're never gonna stop moving.
No, Mama.
You're gonna go to your closet and you're gonna pray. You're gonna get in there, you're gonna pray for forgiveness.
No, never again, Mama.
So she spent this kid's entire life trying to suppress that. I work best when I'm able to communicate with my partner, when we have that kind of level of comfort with each other. I think particularly when you're doing stuff that's heavy, you know, heavy stuff. I mean, for me, the more connected I feel with another actor, then the better it is. And with Chloe, it's been very, very easy.
The relationship Kim and I and Julianne had, I felt so safe on set. And that is the thing that Julianne always said is, you have to feel safe to show such intimate things as an actress, because it's the most intimate thing you can do, is share these emotions and share these feelings. And it was such a maternal aspect on that set that made it so special.
This is something that, you know, I did in Boys Don't Cry and I did in Stop Loss, and that really is my passion, is to take a protagonist-driven story, because I think that's what you go to the movies for. But you need an amazing ensemble cast. You need supporting actors, because those are the stories that actually, in conjunction with the main character, are what drives the movie forward.
It doesn't seem that Carrie is going to point the finger. So, Miss Desjardins, I need you to get to the bottom of this. Let the punishment fit the crime.
Okay.
Judy Greer is one of my all-time favorite actors. She's not only incredibly smart and compelling, but she's really funny. And that was something that was going to be a new layer into the Desjardins character, is that she has a sense of humor.
I think that Miss Desjardins is the most important character in the whole movie. I always have to think that about whatever character I'm playing. But she's the one that tells, you know, the girls they can't go to prom if they don't stay after, and she's the one that takes prom away from Chris.
You're out of prom and you're out of my class, now.
No.
No?
You can't decide that. She can't do this to us.
Goodbye, Chris. The rest of you keep at it.
And what's, I guess, ironic to me is that she takes it out on Carrie and not on me. Why wouldn't Chris, you know, like, try to punish Miss Desjardins?
You need somebody in Sue and Chris who are sexy, who's sophisticated, similar enough that they're gonna hang out and be best friends, but just different enough that the story is gonna pull them apart.
We didn't do anything wrong.
All right, let's go.
Right, Sue? You're with me on this, right? Come on.
Sue?
Come on.
Portia and I sort of hit it off straight away, and I think in our rehearsal time before we started filming, we both very much wanted to establish kind of the history of their friendship. You know, they're fun girls at school, you know, they're badly behaved. I think Sue's always kind of on the right side of the line, whereas Chris crosses the line.
Working with Kim has been amazing in discovering how to make each relationship really developed so that you care about that person. Care about Billy and care about Sue and why you're friends with Sue and why it hurts so much to lose her. I have never really been on a set where everyone spends so much time rehearsing and working with each other. It's been more of a huge collaboration in that way.
There's nothing worse than sort of feeling like your director's not really concerned with character but is more concerned with action, and Kim is the opposite of that. You know, she always has time for you to talk about your character and to keep going over it until you discover something new and play. And you know, we did a lot of improvisation work with her, starting with the scenes but running off with it and just discovering stuff, and she would use that and write it into the script, and it was a really amazing experience.
Well, I believe that there is a video of the incident, and I think your daughter's the one who took it. I think we should just look at her phone, and if it's not there, I owe you a huge apology, and she should be allowed to go to prom.
We both knew we needed to modernize the story and also make it reflective of our times. So, you know, in going back to the King book, what was amazing was that he was writing about bullying way before bullying was the kind of phenomenon that it is now. I mean, there was bullying always, but now there's a social awareness about it. So King was ahead of his time, but they didn't have cyberbullying. So what I did was I went back and looked at as many cases as I could of what contemporary bullying is like. I was studying how kids bully each other through cyberbullying, and I was looking also at what the reactions were. And so when we went back to the script, you know, it was to say, what would our Chris be like today? What would be the tools of her bullying? Well, Chris has a cell phone. She is going to videotape that event. Well, what happens if you have a tape of something? There's a temptation to put it online. Okay, so we give Chris that temptation. She goes home that night, and what does she say? I think we should post it. Because that's another level of the abuse.
Carrie? White. Favorite movie?
Bloodsport.
That's the ticking time bomb in our story, and at prom, not only is there the blood dump, but they post the video on these two screens. It never ends. And that's the problem of cyberbullying, is kids go home, they go online, and the bullying continues. They're an outcast even online. And that was what I felt we owed to the story, and we owe to our audience who wants to come to a movie that's reflective of their world.
That's the saddest thing about this, about the novel and about this story, is that this kid is bullied, picked on, made fun of, and isolated. And that's the terrible thing.
So obviously one of the things that I hope that the fans are thrilled by is the blood dump. We did, you know, tons of research and development. We must have had 50 blood dumps, and each one was kind of more hideous than the next because it was either 5 gallons of blood or 3 gallons of blood, and it was like 5 feet above her or 3 feet above her. It was like thick blood, it was thin blood, and I would get these tests in the middle of, you know, I'd be shooting, and my special effects guys would be like, I got another test, and I'd look at it, and it would be, you know, John, my special effects guy with like a blonde wig, and then the blood would hit his shoulder. So it was a huge science to get the dump right. It's finally the day. We've got all these people lined up, and we know we only have one blood dump in a day. Right before we bring her in, we test it on the double, it completely misses. So then we were like, do we tell Chloe that it was a disaster? We finally dump it. It was a perfect hit. Then we did another one the next day. But we messed around. We lowered the bucket, we changed the blood. It was totally different. But it ends up, we put it in the movie, and it's wonderful because we have these 2 different blood dumps. We go out of time, and we double cut it, and pretty much everybody who's seen it likes it. In a recent interview, somebody asked me, so how many gallons of blood did you use in making the movie? Well, I don't know, 50 tests, 5 gallons each, that's 250. All these other things that we were doing. She's got blood here, she's got blood there, she's got blood in the rain, blood dry, blood fire, 1,000 gallons of blood. That's my estimate. The special effects are what you do practically on the day. Visual effects are what you do after the fact. We all try to do things practically, and you start to realize it's impossible. For instance, she's going to be moving her hands and the books are going to move, so we had like 5 people up above the set with literally fishing poles. And essentially they're just going up and down and they look like they're on a string. So you do it and then you end up shooting a plate, and then at the end of the day you put in the visual effect, and it's beautiful because you can choreograph it. You can have the books go forward, backwards, up, down, any space you want. They can fly, they can hit this side of the table. If you were to do it practically, you simply couldn't unless you were probably going to shoot it in stages. Well, the knives were fascinating because if you look back at the history of movies, we have thrown knives. And a lot of times the way to throw a knife is to have a dummy on one side and to have a wire, it's a trick wire, and have a knife be whoosh, pulled into the dummy. Now, what do you do if you have a lot of knives? I wanted something where you have all the knives and the scissors on a sewing table. And what I wanted was that Carrie's powers, essentially, because she communicates with the natural world, she essentially sends a signal out, and all those knives, they're starting to rise, and they then circle around, and they end up right in front of her mother. They terrify her mother, and then she throws them into her mother. And that was where we came up with a visual effects solution to a special effect problem that we couldn't solve. If Carrie's going to go up against Chris, ultimately Chris has to destroy herself, and she has to destroy her beauty and her vanity. So I thought, well, if she goes through that windshield and we shatter that beautiful face, that'd be great. We ended up doing that all CG. The A side of Chris flying forward is actually a digi-double. It's something that we designed in post. She moves forward, her face hits the glass flies. It was the only way you could control the glass. The B side, when you cut to her and Carrie's looking at her, that's actually the actress. And we had to then put glass into her face and create a meld around her so that actually it looked like she had gone through the glass and that she was dying before your eyes.
Come on. Are you seeing this?
The wave of anger that comes out of her, that was a very complex process because we had to have things in the space moving. We had to have tables and chairs flying. We had to have human beings flying. And the camera itself moves left to right. So you shoot that in about 6 layers. So you shoot each panel. Let's do the tables, let's do the chairs, let's do the human beings. So that's something I'm very proud of, that you couldn't do it in real time because it never existed. I have been amazed that when I watch the movie with audiences, they love Carrie, and the amazing thing is they cheer for her to get her revenge. And that was a very fine line to walk, because it was possible that they wouldn't get behind the revenge tale, that they might get judgmental, or that they might not fully identify with it. But I think that we managed to create a safe space where they feel okay cheering for that sense of justice.
The draw to this retelling of the Stephen King book is that it's a more realistic, more gritty, dark retelling of the story.
Carrie White is an extraordinary character. She's a girl that we all can identify with. We've all had our hard days. We've all been made fun of. We've all come up short. We've all had struggles with our parents, and I think we all think that we have a special talent. I hope people go on the full journey, and I hope it does justice to the book, because that's your biggest goal, is you want to honor the material, and you want people to feel that you did right by it and that you added something to it.